Hello there and welcome to an exciting preservation segment. In this segment we are going to kind of reverse everything. We're going to take it from stage 1 to stage final or final stage. The thing is that I have been asked many times when I raise the questions about preservation. How to do, where to begin, which are the methods, and where do I begin? Well, to put it pretty simple, it all depends on what you're having in your backpack, so to speak. What kind of experience do you have? What kind of knowledge do you have about the media when it comes to like floppies, when it comes to tapes, or general purpose preservation? So, like I said, one of the most asked questions is how? How do I begin? What can I use? And I know that in some other previously mentioned brought up segments I have been going through many fancy solutions, everything from the standard floppy to standard tape, tape to floppy, fancy devices here and there, the ultimate 1541-2 cartridge and everything, the adapters, etc, everything. Well, even if you might understand, there's another understanding that maybe kind of falls between the chairs, so to speak. So instead of cutting my legs and call me Shorty, I'm gonna just, shred some lights over this. So, to begin with, we have been talking about these, the tapes. They come in all kind of different flavors, and in a particular reason I don't know this is a turbo tape. So where to begin? Where the heck to begin? Well, first of all, you need a Commodore 64 machine, and this is the very basic. And when you have this machine, what you will need is a dataset. You will need a dataset because the dataset is kind of opening it up like that, and you insert your tape into them and you close it, you press play, or actually you type load on the machine and that's the basic. That's the very basic. And also what you need is a screwdriver to align the head so it can read the tapes. And I have done a segment on that, how that is working, so I will put the, you can always see the links below. So, when you have everything loaded into the memory of the machine, you of course want to save it. But many times the question is how? What do you mean save? Well, what first comes to my mind is you need one of these. Well, I'm working on a really small space. You need one of these heavy bastards. The 1541. That is what you need. And you also need an empty floppy to store your programs too. So if when we're typing load, enter, and it starts to read from the tape, it finds a turbo. You just run it like that, RUN, enter, and you press, the arrow key. If we're getting it, arrow key, L for load. Everything is working fine, and when it's loaded, you just type save and the file name to the floppy. Boom! It will save to the floppy, to that one there, and that is working. And when you have filled up your floppy, well, it's full. And then you will need to kind of transfer your floppies to like a digital media. For instance, .d64 images. And there are some methods to do that as well. But I will come to that situation later on. Hang on, we're discussing the methods here. So this is kind of what I'm called the most time-consuming method ever. But it's also where it begins, where it starts. And I have also been going through a fantastic program called Spectacular, and I have done a segment how that is working. And that Spectacular copy turbo to disk is meant to be run with only turbo tapes. It doesn't do anything else when it comes to like original games, or when it comes to custom loaders like NovaLoad, CyberLoad, and all these fancy loaders. It doesn't do anything about it because it's not meant to read these formats or these loaders actually. So that program is in depth or particularly meant to be for only turbo tapes. And what it does, just a little short introduction. What it does, that it's taking everything that you have from this, every turbo tape file, and saves them to a floppy or floppies. Instead of doing it the manual way that I showed you, load the turbo, you press the left arrow L, and L, return, boom, loading from tape, save to disk. Instead of doing that, manual, so to speak, the Spectacular would take care of that for you. It has a tremendous amount of tools also built in. One is, if we're going back to the screwdriver here, Mr. Screwdriver. It also had in the latest version 2.0, it has a Headalign program built in. You just press the store, boom, we are in, and you can screw. You can get it. You can give your head a pretty screw job, if you mind me saying that. But also, when you have everything hooked up, there are some other tools that you can use to really perfect, to really go and get your signal from the tape, the data set in perfection. And this is a really nice hardware solution. It's a monitor. The monitor is installed in the dataset port. It's working like a vampire actually. But you just plug it in there, and you get a pretty tall one, so to say, and you just connect your dataset connector, boom, onto there. And what this is doing, it's monitoring the signal coming from the tape, going there, going here, and you will have monitored that it will read actually the turbo tape formats, all the variation of the turbo tape 250 format, and it also has kernel loaders, the standard CBM. So that's a very good tool. This one comes in do-it-yourself kit and requires some soldering mounted components. So you need to have some skills. But it's okay, it's alright. So that method is working very nice. Very nice. And speaking about another method is actually this. Ta-ta! This one. And this is an IEC to SD adapter that you connect to the floppy drive's interface actually. But yeah, the IEC. And this is just this is like a bypass or a through pass thing. What you really do is you just connect it to the machine here to get power for this device, and you can just connect your tape there. What this one do? This one emulates a floppy drive, actually 1541. It emulates that one, and putting it so you can save your files to an SD card. And that really comes handy if you're on a restricted budget, or you just want to have things going smooth. And this method is used when you wanna, like, you know, save everything to floppy. You can even use it to copy your from like an 1541 to this one, if you set this one to device number 9, I mean. But that is a bit complicated, and it needs, well, some thinking when you're doing it. I haven't done it myself, but I know it's possible. But that's not one we are going to discuss here. All right, so compared to the previously method, when you were on like a stock Commodore 64 and just had the data set, the floppy drive, and the Commodore 64, nothing else, nothing fancy. That method is kind of used when you are, well, you just kind of got your 64, or you're just working naked in the bars, so to speak. That method is used to, yeah, just doing the very basic things, and it's nothing wrong with that. And it's nothing wrong to save to like an SD card. It's really easy. And the spectacular, as I'm mentioning it all the time, well, in the future version, you will have like one version that will support the save to like an SD card. Well, you can do it with the version 2.0, but it's a little bit tricky. Or, well, it's not tricky, but you get all the files in the root of on your SD card, and the future version will have more features on it. All right, so that's kind of the step 2 method, and then we are coming to another one. Boom! Here we go, and this is a very popular method using the 1541 Ultimate 2 cartridge. That cartridge is really good. It's a bit on the expensive side, but it has lots of features, lots of functionality that, well, in my opinion, well, it's totally worth it, because you have so many things you can, like, mount vertical drives. I think you can mount, or you can actually set up to 10 IEC, vertical IEC devices, and you can have, well, everything you want to have in it, so to speak, or anything. You can switch kernels, you can emulate cartridges. It has a very nice file system too, and it has lots of good features, and it's easy to use. Everything is controlled. You're just pushing the middle button, bam, and you're in. You can, you know, create floppies, you can delete floppies, you can create directories. I have done some videos about that as well. But this solution is kind of all in all. This is well, I like this solution a lot, because what you do here is you just take your dataset and you connect it straight into here, and you can use any kind of copy program you want. Anything from like spectacular to, well, whatever you want. And it saves to floppies, and floppies are stored, or floppy images are stored on this little dongle there, an USB dongle, so you can just snap it out, smack it into your well, modern computer, PC, Mac, whatever you're using, and access the files there. And it's really convenient. And you can also use it along with this monitor to get it really extreme if you want to. But there's more. There's more to this little device, and there's more to this that I will cover soon. But okay, so this method, who would like to use this method? Well, this method is probably the best if you are really determined actually, that you want to do this. You want to do this. You really want to crash and trash this. Okay, you really want to be the preserver of the year, might be saying. Then this is it, because you are, whoa, you are limitless. You have so many options to work with. You can, you know, you can even connect your real hardware, so to say, your real drive, floppy drive to. Yeah, so this method is kind of for the ones who are in with the big eyes, so to speak, and who really want to do this preservation. And it also has lots of other uses. I mean, if you want to play with the tape, all right, that's all she wrote for that. No problem whatsoever, no problems. But you can also like download your favorite games, demos, and everything, and write them back to your floppy if you want. So that's a very nice choice if you want to do that. And now we have some kind of alternative methods for tape. We're still on the tape subject, okay? So let's say that you have received some tapes and nothing is really working. You don't know what it is. You have been trying to align the head of your data set, but it doesn't work. And I know this is kind of an abdominant version or method. It's kind of obsolete, but I still consider this one really nice. This is kind of a, well, this one is a Walkman, you know, a portable tape recorder, tape listener. You can listen to your favorite tapes in this one, but it also works with your standard. If we're putting it the right way, it should be better. Tapes. And why on earth am I digging up this one from the grave, you may ask yourself. Well, first off, what's coming from the data set? It's a mono signal, and it has been like converted, or actually it has been manipulated 3 times. It's going from like it's going through 3 kind of filters. First it's going, first the signal will be converted to a sine wave, then it will be converted to like a sawtooth wave, and then it will be converted to like pulses. And when it's doing this, I mean, this is a cheap device. Commodore was, well, kind of known to be cheap. So the circuits and the signal processing is very cheap and raw done. It means that you will miss out a lot of crucial data or data from the cassettes that can be used to recreate the signal that will occur to be corrupt here. And that is done with a method called sampling. What you do is actually that you're pressing play on this tape deck, so to speak, or your portable tape deck, and you're importing both left and right channel into your computer. You sample the signal, and what you want to do is work with 16-bit in, well, like 24 kilohertz or 96 kilohertz. You want to have like a very high signal, or actually resolution of the signal. And this method is very nice, and I think I have covered it in a previous segment, else I will just do my homework correctly and cover it in an upcoming one. But that's okay. And this one, I know this method has been discussed very much, that they think no, this is just not the one, this is obsolete, you don't use this any longer. But that's wrong, and I admit it, I have said it myself, that no, samples, no, that's not what you want. You want to work with the digital, you want to dump it with like some kind of program, or you want to use the, like I mentioned before, the spectacular and everything. You want to do like straight tap dumps, but that's not really correct. And well, I'm the better man. I can just admit I was wrong, and I have learned my lesson, and I have saved lots of data using this method. And this method is used for, well, basically anyone. What you need to keep in mind when doing this is that you don't want to have like an over boosted signal. You want to have the signal level correct so it doesn't clip. You don't want to have it clipped. It's more or less better to have like a lower signal than to have it like distorted, because, well, there are some programs that can boost the signal, so to say, and not just boost it, not normalize it. You will get like fine result. So this one is actually for anyone, you know, even for, yeah, the really hardcore preserver like I am. I've been using this, like I said. But there is another method too to this. And this method is using a fine little device. This one, it's called DC2N4. And I am also covering this one in another segment, so I won't go into the details. This one requires a computer with USB port. Well, any modern computer would have that. And what this one is doing, actually, it's kind of reading the signal from here straight into your computer. Yeah, and this creates a more high resolution format than the standard tap format, the DMP format, that is. And it's very useful if you want to have more depth of your data and you want to really extract, strange formats, original tapes, turbo tapes, mysterious tape, and it also eats some other formats like the PAT, the WIC20, the Commodore 16, MSX, and whatever. And this is for the people who maybe don't have a Commodore 64 machine, but they have lots of tapes actually, or something like that. So this method is very good for, like, well, those users. And this is also, compared to the other methods, this is not the better, but it's a little bit more sharp, because you get more details from you get more details from the data that you are transferring. So yeah, and as always, you can also use, even if this one has like a software monitor that you can see on your screen, you can use it together with this little monitor as well. So that was the tape. That is how, and yeah, the methods to be used with tape preservation. So if we are wrapping up things, if you are like on a really extreme small budget, just go for the stock and save it to floppy and send the floppies to someone who can preserve the floppies. That is okay. That is really okay. There's nothing to be ashamed of doing that method, but it's just gonna eat a lot of time. And if you are like, well, if you don't even have a Commodore 64, but you have loads of tapes, just sample the tapes. Sample the tapes into wave formats at 16 bits, 24 kilohertz, and make it good. Ask around, and then you can send those huge wave files to people who want to preserve or extract things from them. And there are many good packers out there to pack those huge wave format files to smaller files. Like the 7-zip is very nice. It's a good one. That one is, well, I think it's a good method. So then if you are like, you're feeling that this is my cup of tea, you really want to preserve, and you're thinking that, well, I'm not going to just preserve tapes. I perhaps want to play games, I want to do things, I want to code, I want to, draw my straw to the stack, actually. Then you might want to take a look at the Ultimate 1541-2, that cartridge, because that is, well, it's like the bomb. You will really destroy the preservation scene by using that. You will smack it up, and that is really good. But now we are going over to floppy preservation. Here we go. So when it comes to floppy preservation, it's a little bit different than to work with tapes, because The tapes are pretty advanced in a way, and it takes longer time, but the floppy preservation, it goes faster. But there are some critical moments to keep in mind when you are preserving floppies. Most of the floppies, so-called swap floppies, are easy to preserve. They don't require so much work. So, one of the best, in my opinion, the one solution so to speak, is the WarpCopy. I have also made a segment about the WarpCopy, so I will, you know, down below I will point out some links and description about those videos. But to get started with the WarpCopy, you need to have a Commodore 64, you need to have like a drive, and you also need to have a network card that is connected to your network with this. And it requires a PC. As far as I am aware, the WarpCopy client is only on the PC, but perhaps they have made some tricks on the Macintosh. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just working with the PC. So what's so special about WarpCopy? Well, WarpCopy has a very nice feature that it will start to read the floppy, and whenever it finds errors, it will mark the errors with yellow dots, or really corrupt. You know, when the floppy is destroyed, it will mark it with red dots, and then it will come back to try and even read the reds. But if it can't read the reds, it will leave them blue. But then also the final stage is that it will read the yellow dots and try to make them green. And it has like a fast IEC mode and a slower IEC mode. And the slower one is really, then it's chewing, so to speak, the floppy without destroying it. But it reads slower, but it also reads a bit more exact if you have trouble with it. And like I said, it's been used with a 1541 drive. That solution is used when you are working with swap floppies, like I said, or just non-copyright protected floppies. Yeah, that's about it. And it's a pretty cheap solution actually. What you need to get a good network interface, and those can be a bit pricey, but it's up to you. It's up to you how much you wanna spend on that. But like I said, if you're like ambitious and you really want to do the floppy preservation, my advice is WarpCopy for the win. But if you are like on a smaller budget and you cannot afford, or well, maybe you don't even own a Commodore 64, you just have like the VC1541, then it's one of these. This could be a pretty nice solution as well. And what this is a XUM 1541, and what this is doing, it's driven by a little what is it? I think it's a Pro microprocessor, and you can connect your floppy drive there, and on here you connect this to your PC, Mac or Linux machine, I mean. And this one is a cost-effective product. It has a bigger brother with a different name. But what this one allows you to do is connect your drive in here, and then it can do some more advanced stuff. It can like make something called a nib copy, and a nib copy is working on the nibble level, so it reads more exact, and it can work around the copy protections if it's not like, well, some really nasty copy protections. Then you need another drive to read that. But you can also connect it to like a 1571 and use the SQR function to read faster and read double-sided discs that were written on the Commodore 128. because it has a special mode, so it can, yeah, what you get is it's like reading that way on one side, and I mean it's rotating yeah, the disk will spin and read on from different directions. Oh my gosh, that was a really complicated sentence. Anyhow, Google or whatever you want to do. I'm not the man to explain it at the moment, but yeah, it has some problems when you turn, and when you're flipping you will have everything written the opposite way, so you need to have a 1571 to read these floppies. Alright, but like I said, the XAM floppy is very nice, it's effective, and well, it's the latest version of the software is really great, really great. I have been using it to preserve some really tricky drives, and it also works with the Zoom floppy 64 is the same. So that's a very nice method as well, and I think that this little, yeah, the XAM method is for people who are on a really low budget and just have like the drive, and you don't want to, you know, spend too much space, or you know, you just want to preserve your floppies. Then that method is really what you want. That's what you want. And then there is another one. Boom, shakalak. There we go. Yeah, so one other solution, if you have like investigated in the Ultimate 2, so to speak, to YouTube, that is to set up this as you have, like I said, you have a software emulation of the 1541. So what you can do is that by default the IEC is set to device 8, but if you're setting that device to device 9 and you're having your famous floppy drive set to device number 8, you can then go in the cartridge, you can copy from the floppy drive to the device number 9. Yeah, so what you're doing, how can you possibly do that? Well, it's pretty simple actually. You just connect your floppy, let's see so I get this straight now. Yeah, you just connect your floppy drive in here, then you connect, yeah, like you usually do. Then in here you connect that one to the backside of your floppy drive, to the other one, because the 1541 has 2 ports, because you can address that one to like 8, 9 or 10. So then you have like, you can copy from the real deal to the virtual deal, so to speak, and that is working okay. The internal program is pretty simple. It does what it says it does. That's about it. But keep in mind that you won't have any kind of error correction or reads, so to say. It just reads one time, and if there are any errors, sorry about your damn luck, but then you are left with an error image, so to speak. But there is also another solution to that. You can run some of your favorite copy tools, like the fast or copy floppy. You have some burst copy, some tools like that, you know, 1.2 copy. I don't know all the names of these, but they are working. I have tried them out, and they can reread the floppy, so to speak. And well, in some scenarios it kind of works well. It works equally to the WarpCopy. So that is also a solution to keep in mind. But like I said, then you have to spend more money to get this back device, or the U2 actually. So you have to consider that as well. But this method that I just explained here, that is used for that is probably a solution for average floppy preservers that know that, well, they have good floppies. They know that these floppies are good. There are no errors whatsoever on them. Then this method is, it's not the baddest boy in town, so to speak. It works pretty nice. But speaking with bad boys, now we have the final solution. If everything is really going against the stream, you have tried every possible solution to preserve your pressure floppy, but it fails, but you are in such an urge to have that floppy. Then we have something here that I'm going to introduce to you. This is the Cryflux. Or actually, this is the Cryflux interface. The Cryflux interface is perhaps the most dominant thing on Earth if you are a serious preserver and you really want to preserve, well, everything, anything. It doesn't matter if it's like Amiga, Atari, Commodore 64, VIC-20, IBM-DOS, whatever it is, you can preserve everything that a drive can read, because this takes full control of your drive. So this is, I have I have built a little frame in Lego for my drive, so it holds it in place. And this is just a standard floppy drive. This one is good. I have calibrated it and aligned everything so it works good. It uses an external power to drive the drive, so to speak. But this method, okay, this is, like I said, this method is for the most, when you're serious, you are the one, so to speak. You are the man to preserve. Then this is the best solution. But also, this is the Cryflux isn't, well, it's not that cheap, but it doesn't matter when it comes to preservation, because if you're having like, I would say if you have like all the WarpCopy, you have the Zoom floppy, and you have the Cryflux, then, well, there's nothing that will stop you. You're it. That's it. So to wrap up this a little bit, we have been going through the tape preservation and what kind of methods you can use. Like I said, if you are on low budget, or you don't have any budget at all, you don't want to spend a dime on this, but you still want to, attend with your data, so to speak, then you can sample the tapes. Sample the tapes in high resolution, like I said, 16 bits and 24 or 96 kilohertz. Send these files to an active preserver, and that guy will do his or her job, actually. If you want to step up a little bit, step up to the plate, you can buy yourself an Ultimate 2 1541, and you can connect your dataset to it and go with a spectacular copy disk to tape to disk, and you can use some other like CBM copy and kernel copy, and well, you have lots of tools out there that you can use. And when you get in the Ultimate 2, you can also, well, hook up an external drive and copy the very basic with that. And if you are into more serious preservation when it comes to floppies, you can use, like I said, the WarpCopy. And if you're really serious, you go for the Cryflux, because the Cryflux also has support for the most common copper protections on the Commodore 64 and more. Because you're not just bound to preserve a Commodore 64 media. You can even, like I said, you can preserve for the Atari, you can preserve for the Amiga, MSX, VIC-20, you name it. It even has support for hardware samplers and samplers formats, so you are not restricted to just like, you know, the computer formats, so to speak. So anyhow, guys, I hope this has been some kind of useful for you, that this has shed some lights on the problems that occurred in your head, that this has resolved all the questions. Well, I have read from the paper, I have written down all the questions that I have been asked, and I hope that I have been able to squeeze all that into this segment and trying to break it down to, you know, break things down, go a bit more detail without grinding too much about it. But like I said, it's all up to you, just as long as you preserve and save your precious tapes or floppies, that's what counts. And if you have no idea how to do it even after I have explained this, please do not hesitate. Contact any one of us, including myself. I am preserving daily, and I have dedicated lots of time doing this, and I won't stop, man. I won't stop. So this has been very, very fun for me to talk about, and I guess I could sit here another 3-4 hours and talk about this, but let's just trash this. Let's get all the data you have here and do something creative about it. Just do something. And if you're having hard times, you know, understanding this, just try to push through. Ask around. We are here to help you. We are not like fighters. We fight with you. We don't fight against you. We want to help. At least I want to help. So that's why I'm making these videos, to make you inspired to take that final step and draw your straw to the stack. Help us to, you know, help us to save the data for the future generation. Because, well, if you're born like, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, yeah, go figure. We won't live forever, but we want to have the things that we built up, the things that we made. We want to have that preserved in the time capsule so you can dig it up and go analyze our crazy work and get some inspiration. So with this said and done, I hope you're having the best day ever, and I hope this has been useful, and I hope to see you guys in another one. Bye!